Welcome to this DCam training video. In this video we will be covering messages, rework, and resend. Let's jump right in and start with messages. Messages will be sent for every week's worth of work and for previously reworked folders. The messages are there to help you know how you are doing and to give guidance on how to improve. There are a few ways to get this feedback: email, downloading messages, and when you receive a new external hard drive each week. Messages are the way of receiving feedback and being able to rework and to resend folders. When a folder is reviewed at headquarters, it is checked to ensure it meets image quality standards. Once it has been reviewed, the folder is marked as complete, rework, or resend. Once a project media number is finished being reviewed, a message will be sent by email and on the next external hard drive. The emails will look something like this email. It shows the image quality results of the folders of an external hard drive we sent to headquarters. All the images and folders of this external hard drive were acceptable, and the results given are excellent. There are no other messages. This means that the next external hard drive sent to you will have those folders marked as completed. This next email says the folders were accepted, but it has an additional comment. It says, "We need to have the name of the church or parish when we capture church records." The additional comments will tell you things to look out for. You should make sure to apply the comments suggestion going forward. This email is labeled as rework and resubmit, and it has additional comments. The summary tells us how many folders and images weren't accepted. In the caution folders section, it tells us what type of problems it was, in this case LSI, and a comment about the problem. This comment reminds the camera operator to use the thinnest representative line when doing the LSI portion of calibration. The rework and resubmit folders section tells which folders need to be reworked, meaning all the images should be recaptured and the images in the folder need to be reviewed to help the camera operator understand the problem that occurred. This last email is labeled resend and resubmit. Looking at this email, we can see that 3 of the 16 folders weren't accepted. When we look at the rework and resubmit folders section, we see that all 3 folders need to be resent. This means that there was probably a problem with ingesting the images. This might mean that you removed the external hard drive before a transfer was complete or some other problem occurred. As previously mentioned, messages are also sent on every external hard drive. These messages actually make changes to DCam folders. After you correctly connect an external hard drive and navigate to the DCam homepage, process data from headquarters should appear clickable. You will click on it to get the messages and run the updates on folders you have previously shipped. For more information about the use of external hard drives, see the DCam video, Receiving and Shipping External HD. Updates and messages can also be processed if the computer you are capturing records with has access to the internet. You can do this from within DCam by clicking File, Download Messages. If the computer you are capturing with doesn't have an internet connection, you can still get the messages. To do this, from a different computer you will download the messages.xml file from https://bit.ly/camera messages and move the file to a flash drive. Make sure you place the file right in the flash drive and not in a folder inside the flash drive. The file must be labeled as messages.xml. If both requirements are not met, DCam will not be able to detect the messages. Once you have the messages on the flash drive, you will connect it to the camera capture computer. Follow the same steps to get the messages as you would with an external hard drive. There may be times where a correction needs to be made contrary to previously processed messages. If this is done manually, go to the transfer page, ship history, all folders to see details, update folder status. You will then enter the password given to you by your field supervisor or as given to you by headquarters. This will enable you to change the status of a folder. It is important to use caution when manually making changes to the status of a folder. The actions of resending a folder, opening a folder for rework, or marking a folder as complete are normally handled automatically via external hard drive communications. Performing these actions manually may interfere with this communication and cause images to be deleted. Remember to please contact your field supervisor before you make any manual changes to a folder's status. Once DCam has processed messages, you can continue with Rework, Resend, or new folders. Let's first cover Rework. After messages have been processed, you can see all the folders needing reworked or resent in the Folders section of the Manage Projects, Listings, and Folders page. Here we see 2 folders needing reworked and 1 needing to be resent. You will treat a folder that needs to be reworked in one of 2 different ways depending on why it needs to be reworked. You will either recapture all the images in the folder or recapture the ones identified plus any other images with problems. Let's see how to determine which recapture method you should use. You will recapture all of the images in a folder if the reason for the rework is related to LSI, blur, focus, or clipping. The reason you must recapture all these images is because the problem affects all the images in the folder, or it is easier to recapture all of the images rather than checking every single image. You only have to recapture the images with issues if you receive an error code with skewed images, wrong orientation, a hand in the image, or extra material in the image. You may need to recapture all the images in the folder depending on the extent of the problem. You do need to recapture all the images identified in the email you received, plus any other problem images in the folder which were not identified. Only a small selection of images will be identified in the email, and you will have to identify the rest of the images with problems. If the great majority of images need to be recaptured, then it might be best to recapture all the images in the folder. Also note that you will need to keep track of the time you spend on the capture portion of a rework. You configure this using the information found when you click on the Show My Results icon from the capture page. You will report the rework hours at the end of the week. Reporting will be covered in a different video. For any rework, remember to use caution in those areas indicated in the email you received. That way you should not have to rework a folder a second time. After you rework a folder, you will need to evaluate it again, then close and load it onto the hard drive. While a rework can take a bit of time and effort, resending a folder is quite simple. After messages are processed and you navigate to the Manage Projects, Listings, and Folders page, a resend folder will be labeled Resend Closed, highlighted in yellow. This means it is ready to load onto the external hard drive. You will then follow the basic steps of transferring folders to an external hard drive, after which the folder should be labeled as Resend on HD, highlighted in green. That finishes up this video. Please take a look at the other DCam training videos. See you then!